was to give you Montessori in 5, basically, and squish it all together and give you the 5 key ideas that I think have made a huge impact on me in my parenting. So you will see lots of photos of my 4 children, and they are currently twin boys who are 12 and a half, and Leah who is 10, and Keishel who is 7. And I did ask their permission, although I have one of the boys who is now saying that actually he'd rather I didn't. So it was a bit of a negotiation last night, but that's fine. We're good to go. So what's the plan? What's the plan today is what Keishel asks me every morning when I wake her. And so the plan for us is to cover those 5 areas. And I've pulled out these aspects: respect, independence, responsibility, cooperation and contribution. For me, those are the tenets in Montessori philosophy that have driven my parenting decisions. And what we'll talk about is how, and share some ideas of what you can do at home. So if we look at respect, for me, it's an integral part of the Montessori philosophy, and it drives everything you do. So when I'm reflecting on parenting, and you should actually, as a parent, constantly reflect on what you do and your job that you do. It's been 12 and a half years since Mark and I became parents, and it's a constant. We are constantly discussing how we are parenting and what we're doing. And respect keeps coming into that because it drives our decision about how we're interacting with our children, are the situations that they're getting into, are they coming out of it as respectfully, and so forth. And it also comes down to how you view children. So, and this is essential, and Montessori was very big on this, that we view children in certain ways. And to be honest, if you think that children are difficult and hard work, you're going to view parenting as difficult and hard work. And guess what? Your children will be difficult and hard work. And I do have a little bit of an issue with the culture in New Zealand of talking about raising children in that manner. And we're about to go into school holidays, and I bet you $1 million that there'll be radio announcers commenting, "Oh, how is it out there, parents? You know, you've got those kids at home, they must be driving you up the wall, and give us 2 days of rain. Oh, it must be hell. How are you coping? You know, we've got to give us a quick call because we've got a competition to get you to that lollipop land. You know, it's all good." It's a very, very clear message that having children at home is hard work. Well, if that's how we're viewing parenting, then that's how our children are going to be. When Ben and Karen were twins, well, they are twins, but when they were 2, and I'm pushing them around in their double buggy, and they were gorgeous, so people would often stop and say, "Aren't they beautiful? How old are they, 2? Terrible 2s. How are you coping?" 2 of them, and 2. Must be such hard work. No, it wasn't. It was fabulous. 2 is great. They're becoming independent. They want to do things for themselves. And I sort of thought, what are we saying to 2-year-olds if we're viewing them as terrible all the time? So Montessori was very big on viewing children as competent and capable. And if we take that concept and we respect them in that view, then that's what they will be. And so how you interact with them, how you talk with them, the language that you use, your manners, your tone of voice. If you do that with them at the beginning, that is how they will respond to you. So, okay, so Ben and Karen are moving into this teenagehood. They haven't quite got there yet, although we're seeing very clear signs. And we're getting the smart tone back. Now, because throughout their last 12 and a half years, Mark and I have been very particular about the tone we use with them and the way we talk with them. If I get that disrespectful tone in their voice, I feel fairly strong to be able to turn around and say, "I don't think I quite deserve you talking to me like that, do I?" And they immediately go, "No, sorry." And we stop. Touch wood, that carries on. the moment, I'm seeing the rewards of the way I have raised them coming back to me. Does that make sense? Yeah. So let's look at you as the adult. You're here, yay, and you've come to learn. And just some things for you to think about as an adult interacting with your children. Especially while they're little, I really recommend you take time to just observe. Watch them. Just watch what they do. See what they're capable of. Love that moment where you can just stand and see what they can do. And you'll be surprised how capable they are. And that will then be part of your conversations to reflect on, okay, so-and-so's really quite, got this whole drawing and art thing going on, and her hand-eye coordination is amazing. I was watching, she's half an hour at the art table, it's great. And I'm thinking, actually at night, I brush her teeth for her. She's probably more than capable of doing it herself. Yeah? So just taking those observations and thinking, how can I rearrange things? She's wanting to go and do stuff for herself. She wants to get her own glass of water. How can I change the kitchen so she can do that by herself? So that's the key of observation and the key of reflecting. You're showing them trust and faith that you know that they're capable. And in doing that, you're changing things in your house to make it so. You're respectful in the way you talk with them, and you're a fabulous role model. Be courteous, be polite, be friendly. Because children will do as you do. They won't do as you tell them. Generally. But I really think that you are the key to how your children will be. And really, at the end of the day, you actually need to also be a really fun person to be around. Because your children will want to be with you if you're an interesting and fun person. And Pam talked about that and creating that culture of asking and being interested in one another. If you have that in your household, of the constant conversations and the constant discussions and constant asking questions, that will continue on with your children. So, another key tenet of Montessori is independence. And it's talked about a lot, and if you've got your children in a Montessori centre or school, it will be discussed with you regularly. So how do we make that happen? Well, I think there's two aspects to independence. There's the stuff that you do as a parent, and there's the stuff that you don't do. So, talking about the don't do, that means you don't do up their shoes when they're more than capable of doing it themselves. You don't put on their coat when they're more than capable of doing it themselves. You don't put them in dungarees when they're starting to learn how to use the toilet. You don't give them shoes that have got shoelaces when they're 2 years old, when Velcro ones would be much, much better for them to be able to do it by themselves. Okay, so there's the don'ts. Montessori talked about adults being the hindrance to children's development. We so are. It's very much, we tend to just go in and rescue them all the time, and it's very hard not to. I know, I've been there, I've rescued. But it's a key part of allowing your children to be independent, is you actually not doing anything. And then there's the do. What can you do? Well, you provide a prepared environment. We talk about a prepared environment in the classroom. Well, I think that actually you can take your home and you can do the same thing. So what do? We provide a calm and ordered environment. Doesn't that sound great? No, my house is not like this all the time. It is full of, and this morning was a good example. It was very chaotic. 3 children going to play Saturday sport and only one adult to do that. Mark's having a great time. And, but of course I put everything in plan, so it's running smoothly, I know. So a calm and ordered environment. You're setting up shelves for them to have their activities and wee baskets. You don't have a toy box. For me, a toy box is like a big plastic bin in your kitchen with all your utensils in it. And you're expected to go in there and cook dinner. And you know that the utensil you require is at the bottom of that bin. What do? You tip it out. How frustrating. And that's what children are like. When they go to play, they know what they want to play with, and they will be able to go straight to the shelf and choose it. You provide a kitchen environment that means that they can access what they need to access. There's clearly defined areas for activities. For example, you might have a kitchen area with a floor that can easily be cleaned up, so that you can have some art, an art easel, some shelves with art materials. Depending on the age, if you've got 2, 3, 4 children, you might have the more simple activities down low for the younger children and more complicated art activities up high for the older children, or in a cupboard. That's a basket of tea towels that I've cut up. Those wee cut up tea towels have been used for a variety of things. Cleaning up spills, wiping down the trike outside when it's got a wet seat, and having a low table and chair so that your children can go and do these activities independently and that they have their own space in which to do it in. Or you might have a lounge area or a family room for your blocks and your Duplo and Lego. Those plastic bins with the drawers, fabulous way of storing your Lego and your Duplo. For us, we had the little people in the top one, animals in the top one, vehicles in the middle one, bottom one was blocks. That's a space for when Nia was a bit younger, so that's her activities there. With the Duplo, children, what I found with the kids is that they went to the drawers and they could choose exactly what they wanted. They didn't just tip out a bucket of it. They could go straight to the people if they needed them. And Nia went through a phase where we had to go out with a handbag. She doesn't do that now. But when she was about 2, every day had to go out with a handbag, and in her handbag was a family, and it was a Duplo family. So every morning required going up to the Duplo drawer and pulling out her family so that off we could go. And it meant that it was very satisfying for her because she could go straight to it and didn't have to tip out a big bin of Duplo. So one of the things that comes through loud and clear with Montessori is allowing your children freedom of movement, particularly while they're younger, giving them a sense of choice, power, and control over their environment. And that was one of the key aspects that I took into my parenting. How could I make this happen? And there's probably 2 things. There's a number of things, but for the time frame today, I'm going to share 2 of them, which I think were the most important and had the most influence. Firstly, there's a small table and chairs. I didn't use a high chair. So right from when they were able to sit, they could sit at a little table and chair and have their morning tea, lunch and so forth. When Feen and Kate were little, Mark and I used to join them down at their wee table. And then once they got a bit older and we all moved up to a family table, that's when we got a wee booster seat for one of the dining room tables, and that's when Nia and Kesha could join us when they were smaller. But generally, most of the daytime meals happened at the little table and chairs. And it meant that they had the ability to be able to move away from it when they needed to. Sure, I had Feen and Kate when they first started walking, pushing their chairs around the wooden floor and not actually sitting at the table. And you know what? That's a boy thing, because Nia and Cashel certainly did. They sat at the table because it was food time and that's what she did. But Feen and Karen, no, it was moving time, and that's what they did. But they don't push chairs around anymore. That's all good. The other thing that I would recommend is no cot. I used a low bed with all my children from when they were about 6 weeks old. They went from a Moses basket to a low bed. I loved it. I thought it was fabulous. It gave them visual freedom. It gave them the ability to come to and from their bed when they needed to. And no, we didn't have children hooning around our house in the middle of the night not knowing where they should be. Because we had clear expectations of what bedtime was all about. And they went to bed and they stayed there. And it also meant that they could just come in the morning and get out of bed and join us if they wished. There was no crying and needing us to go and rescue them and save them from that cage. They could just be in their room if they wanted to. The daytime naps were fabulous because it meant that they could just come and join the family when they were ready. Or they could put themselves to bed when they were ready. This is Nia at 14 months. She was really good at recognising when she needed to go for a sleep. And and she, often we'd find ourselves, during the weekend, Mark would be outside, I'd be or whatever, and we'd sort of catch each other. Is Nia with you? No. Is Nia with you? No. Yeah, no. Oh, well, let's check the bedroom, and she'd put herself to bed. And in the mornings, we could hear her get up. She'd get to the end of her, to the doorway of her bedroom. She could choose to either go across the hall to our room and join us, or she could turn left and go down the hall and join her brothers. And if they were making fun-sounding noises, generally she went and joined them. A big part of independence is placing that culture, that expectation in your environment of allowing them to be independent. And so right from an early age, we had clear expectations that they would be independently active in our family life. So taking their plates from the table into the kitchen for it to be washed. And it still happens, and now actually really one of them might choose to take everybody's plate. But that came from as soon as they started walking, because they've got hands free now once they start walking, and they want to carry something, and it needs to have a purpose for it. And so carrying your plate from the table to the kitchen was really exciting. And of course that meant that they could empty the dishwasher. And so right from when they were walking, they could start emptying the dishwasher. In our house, I'm the only one who can stack the dishwasher, because I'm the only one who knows how to do it properly. But the rest of them can empty it, and they do, and they're on a roster now. But right from when they were wee, they could be involved in emptying the dishwasher. Generally at this age, it was a family affair, everybody was involved, and it meant that the old ones could help the younger ones reach any particular places that they couldn't put anything away. And more often than not, music was blaring at the same time, and it was a bit of a boogie time in the kitchen. Now, yes, that the children are older, it is a chore, but it gets done. So, underneath all of that is this concept of freedom with responsibility, and I think it's really important when you're thinking about Montessori as an educational option for you, but also when you're bringing it in home, that you see that connection. That on the one hand, what Montessori was saying is that you're viewing children as powerful. You're saying that they're competent and they're capable, and we think you're fabulous, and that you're more than capable of doing all these amazing things, and we're giving you some control, and we're giving you some choice, and we're giving you some power. And then on the other hand, we've also got expectations of responsibility. So we're not just expecting you to go off and be this amazingly powerful person without actually recognising that there's some responsibilities that come with that. And so how do you incorporate that into your house, into your household? And really, it's about giving them a whole lot of things that they do, and that they have purpose and they have meaning. Now, what I want to show you now, and there's sound with this, because for me, it's a lovely illustration of just how a basic family task for a toddler can be so important and so joyous. So watch this and see the language, see the movement, see the concentration, see the independence, and see the joy.
Get the smaller ones now. That's a bit big. Carrie will help you find it. Carrie, can you find some more around there for her? Well, here's some small ones there, right here. Now remember, put them in those ones in the box. That's a good one to put in the box, yep. How are you doing there, Carrie? You're getting the big ones. Yeah, you're just looking for the tiny ones. Yeah, yeah, I'll carry that one in a moment, huh?
It's too big for you.
It's big enough for me.
Yeah.
Too big for you.
Yeah.
And there's your joy. The skipper bee. Often, the concept of firewood being delivered and what a chore for the whole family, but as they're young, the importance of being involved in such a significant part of their family ritual or family culture, they get so much joy out of it. And yes, putting away that firewood with Nia and Karen, and actually not quite sure where Finn was, we don't quite know where he was. Yeah. It took a lot longer than if Mark and I just got stuck in there and put it away. But what it set up was a clear expectation in our family that when we do these things, we do them together. And it's continued, and there's a sense of contribution. And Richard talked about that in the classroom, that the children are heavily involved in contributing to the community. And if you have that culture in your family, then you will have them contributing in a variety of different ways. And so it might mean things like doing purposeful and meaningful jobs so that they feel that they're contributing to the family in one way or another. Or that sense of contribution leads to empathetic and responsible individuals who are happy to help out. And that the independence, responsibility and contributing within the family leads to contributing outside the home too. And of course, don't forget the youngest. They need to be and feel responsible too. So to summarise, really, at the end of the day, for our children to show responsibility, to show cooperation, respect and independence and contribution, they actually need to be responsible, cooperative, respectful, contributing and independent. So that's our job, is to make it happen for them so that they can learn those skills and actually do them. Thank you. Happy to answer. Yes.
About the toy box.
Yes.
Do you recommend soft toys in the toy box or not?
Soft toys drive me crazy. There's so many of them. We usually did a stock take and often some soft toys got given away, but the really special ones tend to stay on my children's beds. And it's an age thing. So Cashew's got a few more on her bed. Nia's got loads. For some reason she's really into this. It's actually not much room for her to sleep in that bed because it's soft toys. Ben and Karen don't have any. So, over time it sort of gets that point where it just they will wheedle out. But I never, we just didn't have a toy box. End period. Yeah.
Have you observed any difference between boys and girls? Because you've got two of each of this. I've got a girl who's younger, totally happy to have. You can't stop her. I've got much more trouble getting the boy to do it. And they're both basically the same, they've got things to do. So
Yeah.
it's
Yes, there are differences between boys and girls, absolutely. But there's also differences between individuals. So I've got two boys, and one of them is incredibly helpful in contributing and the other one, I love him too. He's just not quite as helpful. But interestingly enough, at school, he is. He's incredibly helpful, and I had one of his teachers come up to me and wrap me over the knuckles for my last article because she said, this is not boy, I know. So I think it depends on the situation that they're in, and actually I'm quite happy with that. I'm quite happy for him to be a little bit more laissez-faire at home, knowing that he puts in the effort when he's outside of the home and contributing in the community. It is about expectations, and it is, we have to constantly remind ourselves that Cashel, being the youngest, shouldn't get away with doing not much. And so we're constantly reflecting on the jobs that she needs, because it's really easy to ask the boys to do everything because they're bigger and older and more capable. So I think that the way you structure your family life, you do need to have some clear expectations on the boy and on the girl that they do contribute. And you will find it could well be more individualistic rather than female boy thing. But that's just the way they are. Yeah. Does that answer the question? Yes?
Did you take a Montessori approach to toilet training, or how did you approach it?
Well, see, with the boys, I was learning, and I sort of went with how how I, what seemed to be easy, because there's two of them, and I really did go with the easy option, which was going down in trainers